Well, you found me fast, Sleepy. I had to switch to a different internet connection, and it just was horrible, so I had to end the old stream and start a new one. Okay, where is that thing? Okay, there we go. I hope this connection is better. Ah, ah, okay, so here's our second attempt at coming to you live from beautiful North Fontana. Oh, wow. Anyway, I actually fired the physical therapist. Just had a preliminary meeting with him the other day, and I think that was Friday. I fired him yesterday by calling his supervisor because I had to think about it for a while. He might be highly qualified, he might be really great, but I can't work with him. Uh, he seems to think that he's the boss, and I'm sorry, but I'm the boss. It's my hip. So, he was telling me what to do and refusing to explain why. And when I tried to discuss what the surgeon at the hospital told me when I was discharged, he cut me off and wouldn't listen. And then he spent quite a long time talking to my brother and my sister in law about his great qualifications for his job. While I was sitting in the other room just listening. And I thought, no, that's arrogant. And I don't like arrogant people. And since he won't listen to me and explain why his way is better than what I've been doing, I don't follow his instructions. I do what the surgeon told me. Because the surgeon actually examined my hip and didn't just walk in and say, you do this, that, and the other, and that's that. He explained things. Well, I'm glad that my signal is good and clear. It's partly because I'm down the hill, not in the mountains, so there are more uh, available cell towers because the land is flatter. My phone can detect various signal sources. So I'm actually using my phone as an internet hotspot because I forgot the password for my brother's wireless, and I connected to the 2G signal instead of the 5G signal. Dasani water has salt? Well, that's good. I need salt. I have super low blood pressure, so I need extra salt. There's there should be a list of ingredients. It has magnesium sulfate, which is a type of salt, and potassium chloride, which is also a type of salt, and it has salt. That's actually a good thing. Nobody should drink water that does not have some minerals in it. And the minerals will almost always be in the form of salts, like potassium chloride gives you potassium in a form that your body can use. And the same with magnesium sulfate. The sulfur part of the molecule is good for your joints, and the magnesium part is good for all sorts of stuff like your nervous system and your heart. But when I have a choice, I take the tap water and put it through a pure filter. I don't like the Brita. Brita gives me water that tastes bad, and apparently it isn't. It doesn't take out as much crap as pure filter does. So anyway, um, I have a filtered pitcher because if I'm just boiling some eggs or something like that, why waste filtered water? In the mountains where I live, the water is pretty darn good, and they do not add fluoride. In fact, they list fluoride as a natural contaminant that leaches out of the rocks where the water is stored underground. And it's a tiny, tiny amount, and it is not the industrial waste that they add to the water in most cities. Now, once when I was renting a room, the guy who owned the house had it was an Amway water filter under the sink, and it had developed a crack. So I worked some magic and got him a new reservoir for under his sink that was not cracked. I knew a re- I knew an Amway distributor who had actually stopped doing that, but he had a friend who was still doing Amway, and I got the guy a free reservoir to fix his under the sink water filter. About a week later, one of the plastic hoses broke open in the middle of the night and flooded the kitchen, and he never bothered to replace it, so I really felt disrespected. It's just a plastic hose you can get at any hardware store. I've tried those water filters that you just stick onto the faucet like this. Then either they pop right off of the faucet or they won't let any water through. They never work. Never. Anyway, well, yeah, our tap water isn't half bad. It's a little heavy on minerals, but that can be a good thing. Oh, wow. Well, two of you are here. Two of you found my new stream. Anyway, I'm in a non smoking house, so. Uh-oh, you'd better get that faucet fixed, Sleepy Dave. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the plastic cap on your faucet. Maybe you mean the restrictor. We always called them aerators when I was growing up because it screws onto the end of the faucet and it actually introduces air bubbles into the stream of water. Have the controls the stream spray, but I'm not seeing how it could spray in three separate huge streams. I just don't get that part. Well, maybe you could take the whole thing off. Or just not, don't turn the water on as strong. Wow. Let's see. Wow. Anyway, if you mean the thing on a hose that you pull out, not the actual faucet. Oh, I'll bet you have that kind of faucet where it, I've seen them. You can actually pull the end of the faucet and spray around your sink. Well, anyway, yeah, you need to replace that cover. Wow. So here we are. I'm trying to figure out what I can do in the way of exercises so I don't lose too much muscle tone, so I don't get bed sores, and so I don't get blood clots. That's the biggest danger after hip surgery is a blood clot. Oh, well, Sleepy Dave getting ready for work is awesome. Glad you have a job to go to. Well, that's why this tray is bothering me. I didn't set it up right. There, here. That's better. Got the weight of the. I have a like a lap tray that's for eating dinner, holding my computer so that the weight isn't crushing my legs. And it had one of the um, legs folded. Anyway, I just thought I'd better not miss another Tuesday. Wow, that is a blessing, Sleepy Dave. Glad you were able to get a job. I was thinking of trying to get some kind of part time job. California killed the gig economy. So all these online, all these websites and small periodicals that used to, pay $10 for a little article or something like that. Because of this new California law where you have to make people employees, they simply do not buy articles from people who live in California. Well, that's me. California born and raised and never managed to escape. But I can't really have any kind of a job when I'm hobbling around with a walker or crutches. I think I might try the crutches again. I might, now that I'm a little stronger, I might be able to get around better in small spaces. Uh, So, anyway, I hope Melody's doing well. I'm just sick of California politics. They have the nerve to put a proposition on the ballot to increase property taxes. They're already outrageously high. You see, with the ancient 1970s Proposition 13, they cannot increase our property taxes more than a little bit, and they have to base them on what you paid for your house, not what it's worth now, except that they can increase them just I think it's something like 2% per year. So now they add a whole bunch of fees. They aren't taxes, they're fees, but they're part of your property taxes. And if you don't pay them, you get a lien on your house. The government can take your house for a lousy, let's say $20 of property taxes, sell your house and keep all the money, not just the $20 that you owe them. And no wonder we have so many homeless. Criminy. The first houses to get foreclosed are always the rental properties because the landlord he wants to keep the one he lives in above all else. We have a lot of renters in California because it's so expensive to get into home ownership. I'm fortunate that my mortgage is very small and my house payment is not much. But when you add insurance and taxes, it's pushing me to the edge. Now I shut off the donations on my GoFundMe because everybody's hurting right now. And I got a stimulus check. It will cover the first half of my property taxes, and as long as I'm careful, I can do a few things. Like I bought a kitchen, well, not a kitchen, a china cabinet at the local thrift shop. It's gorgeous and it was only $40. But I still don't have kitchen cupboards because that cabinet will not fit in my kitchen. Oh, just won't. But that's okay. It's in my living room and it looks pretty. I have another cabinet that might work if I make some changes, but you see, it'll fit in the available space, but you can't open the doors. So that's a problem. Oh well, when I get back home, I'll work on that sort of thing. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing on the ballot is to repeal it's AB something Assembly bill that California passed and Governor Idiot signed. His name's Newsom. God, his name should be Idiot. It was targeted to force companies like Lyft and Uber to make their drivers employees. So, of course, the taxi drivers are for it because they can't compete. The taxi companies can't compete with people who just give people rides on as a side job. But this new law in California has affected a number of industries where people um, just work when they want, where they want. Whether they're plumbers or Uber drivers or, like me, a writer, all sorts of things. Oh, they also want Amazon to make their delivery drivers employees. Well, most of them already are. So they get benefits, but it also means when you're an employee, the state government gets more taxes out of your paycheck. I think they want to get rid of all small businesses, so we have to shop at Walmart and Sam's Club and Costco and Target. Even a lot of the big box stores, J.C. Penney, um, Macy's, are just shutting down right and left, and of course, restaurants. My poor computer is running hot again. I don't know why it runs hot sometimes and not other times. How strange. Well, I did start reading this here book, The Shadow of Blooming Grove, which my husband, Philip K. Dick, said was boring. Warren G. Harding in his times. Um, Frankly, I don't think it's boring, but every page has sent me to either the dictionary or the encyclopedia at least once. Warren G. Harding was a lot like Richard Nixon in his rise to become president and the corruption in his administration. Even Phil decided toward the end that Nixon was a victim of a coup. He still didn't like Nixon's politics, but he didn't see him as so much of a devil. For a long time, he thought Nixon was the devil, and it's highly likely that it was one of Nixon's federal agencies that engaged in the harassment that drove Phil to leave the country and hide in Canada. But there's a difference, as this book points out, between corrupt people appointed to positions in federal agencies and actual culpability on the part of the president who appointed them. Harding was loyal to his friends and he appointed them to federal offices, and then they, let's see, took bribes, extorted people, um, pilfered the funds that were supposed to go toward federal projects. You know, they stole money from taxpayers. The biggest scandal was Teapot Dome, which had to do with oil fields. And that didn't even really finish going through the courts until 2 or 3 years after Harding died in office of a stroke from all the stress. Or maybe some people think his wife poisoned him, but every time any public figure dies, there's going to be at least one conspiracy theory. Teapot Dome, a bribery scandal involving the administration of Warren G. Harding from 1921 to 1923. But just like Harding, Nixon was never found guilty of anything. Uh, Nixon was uh, convicted in the court of public opinion, mostly for cussing. Now, Nixon knew he was being recorded. He had the tape recorders set up, and he cussed like a sailor. That was stupid. But it isn't illegal to cuss. Well, hello, Luca. Let's see. Maybe Brussels did a good report on Watergate. Good. Yeah, one of the Watergate dudes actually claimed on his deathbed that he was there. If he didn't fire the actual shot, he was part of the team that shot JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. There are lots of suspects in the JFK assassination, and I think they all did it. There was at least one attempt in Florida. There were two attempts in Chicago, and they finally got him in Dallas. Oh, hi, Buckeye. So, we don't know which one succeeded or which individual fired the fatal shot, but we do know that they were all in on it. Maybe not Castro, but maybe Castro, maybe Castro's buddy, Che Guevara. But yeah, the CIA probably participated. The FBI certainly covered up. The Warren Commission was a joke. What else? Oh, right wingers, left wingers, politicians in high places. They all had reasons. I suspect, though, that the Soviet Union had nothing to do with it. Kennedy wanted to share information about UFOs with the Soviets in order to prevent any accidental warfare, launching of missiles. Because, if they saw an aircraft invading their airspace, they would assume that it was ours, and vice versa. If we saw a UFO in the air, we would assume it was theirs and we might shoot back. How old was I when Kennedy got shot? Luca is Luca's in his 30s. I think Kennedy was 35 when he got shot. Maybe he was 40. I don't remember. But I was 9 years old. Oh, and LBJ was definitely in on it. Lyndon Baines Johnson, his vice president. But the way I see it, those who were really in charge let Johnson think that he was in charge of the assassination, but they made it very clear afterward or during the shooting or both that they could shoot him too. He could have his head blown off. Well, the Secret Service was called off. They were supposed to ride on the running boards of the car. But Kennedy told his wife, Jackie, that he might as well, not worry about security because if they wanted to get them, they would get him. It was just a matter of time. Yeah, and then Johnson's running for re-election against Goldwater, and we could not convince the loony liberals that Johnson killed Kennedy. And Johnson probably lost to Goldwater, but there was a lot of fraud going on, especially in Texas, where LBJ was a big shot. And it didn't help for LBJ to accuse Goldwater of being a warmonger. We were already at war in Vietnam, and Goldwater wanted to either win the war or get out. LBJ dragged that war on for his entire time in office, 5 years of war. And then Nixon came along promising to get us out of Vietnam. And that's one of the major reasons why Nixon was Watergated. He could not get us out. He kept being obstructed by the bureaucratic mess in Washington, D.C. So he finally just did it, and it was a messy withdrawal. We left behind people and dogs were classified as equipment. And Vietnamese people who had helped the Americans were left behind because they didn't have enough helicopters to carry them to the ships to come here. I went to college with some boat people. They just built whatever would float to get out of Vietnam because they had collaborated with the Americans and the new regime. On the Warren Commission, whitewashed and covered up the Kennedy assassination. And he didn't get elected. He lost to Jimmy Carter because he'd been Nixon's vice president, the last and final vice president. can you imagine? You're sitting in the Oval Office, you're the president for corruption, but the news media are making you out to be the devil? Well, Jimmy Carter was a terrible president, but a nice guy. Um, Now, Reaganomics messed me up. Just I had just finished my degree. Connection is unstable. Come on. Don't tell me my connection is unstable, you evil computer. Oh yeah, Vietnam messed people up. Let's see. Now, under Reaganomics, Reagan's economic changes, I had just finished my degree in public relations, and there were no public relations jobs to be had because everyone was cutting back. All the big and large companies were cutting costs, and one of the first things to go was public relations. So I went back to school and got a master's degree in English literature, so if it's nothing else, I could teach. And it turned out I was pretty good at teaching English, but I never got tenure. I was always classified as part-time temporary with no benefits. The only thing the school gave me two things. One was that I could take a college course for free, no tuition, 2 or 3 times a year, depending on how many units I had taught for them. The other was that my son could have attended Chapman College for basically for free if he wanted to. But now they're Chapman University, and I don't like them as much. They are not the good old Chapman College focused on actual education, actual teaching in the classroom. But oh well. Oh, and they're all on board with COVID and the shutdown and lockdown and all that. Isn't it interesting how I lose the connection when I'm talking about Kennedy and Nixon and all that? Ronald Reagan was once California governor before he was president. And he started the dismantling of our state hospital system. Our state hospitals in California at one time were the best. They were considered the best in the world. And if you had a credential to work at the state hospitals in California, you did not have to re-qualify. You could work anywhere in hospitals for mentally disabled people. I'm not sure that's politically correct anymore. Whether it was a matter of insanity or lack of intelligence, we had great, great hospitals, and not everyone who was in there permanently. My dad's uncle, for example, would go check himself in once in a while at Norwalk State Hospital in Norwalk because he was schizophrenic and he would be paranoid and I guess he had enough self awareness to figure out that he was in need of help. Oh, Reagan, yeah. Reagan was a movie actor first. It was a scandal when Ronald Reagan became president because he had divorced his first wife. He divorced Jane Wyman and married Nancy. Well, divorce doesn't seem to matter nowadays, but back in the 70s it was still shocking. Um, let's see. Reagan was followed by his vice president George Herbert Walker Bush. Well, yeah, read my lips, no new taxes, and the next thing you know, we have new taxes. Oh, yeah. My mother was kind of an outcast in Culver City because she had divorced her first husband. She claimed that he used to hit her, but her ex husband claimed that she used to beat him up. I don't know. I think I believe them both. And let's see. Bush was followed by Clinton. Bill Clinton seems to be tied up somehow in the Epstein sex scandal. So 2 terms for Clinton, and then we get Baby Bush. Apparently, Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida, was supposed to run for president, but we got George W. Bush, the other son. And I don't think he was very bright. Apparently, in college, he got what they call the gentleman's C. It means he really shouldn't even have passed his courses, but because of who he was and who his family was, they gave him a C so he could get his degree. And wow, that then we had 911, Iraq, Afghanistan, all this war and terrorism going on. And when those twin towers came down, that was freaking weird. Now, there were airplanes, they were hit by airplanes, and real people died, but there was something fake about the whole thing. It was if the authorities didn't actually do it, they allowed it to happen. And it wasn't just airplanes, there had to be explosives already set up in those buildings for them to come down the way they did. And, there are competing theories about what kind of explosives and so forth. They are not mutually exclusive. One group could have decided to crash planes into the towers, and another different group might have set explosives, and yet a third group might have compromised the structural integrity of those towers. Pull out a few bolts or maybe saw halfway through a beam, that sort of thing. And they might not even have known about each other. If you want to promote your theory, you don't have to disrespect someone else's theory. They are not mutually exclusive. But I still don't think Iraq and Saddam Hussein had anything to do with the Twin Towers. But you see, Saudi Arabia is our friend, so we couldn't point the finger at them, even though most of the hijackers were Saudi Arabian. Now, in my years of teaching, and before that as a student, had I've gotten to know different students from different parts of the Middle East, and those most of them are just nice guys, and they're almost always men. With the exception of Persians, they just don't educate their women. So, as bad as Iran is, they used to, at least, educate women. They didn't lock them up in the home. In many Arab cultures, the women are basically property. But anyway, these guys were mostly nice guys. But the ones from Saudi Arabia, oh my, terrible. Just awful people. But that country is our ally. It's a matter of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And Arabia is the enemy of Iran. Iran is Persia. The Nazis convinced them to call their country Iran because they thought the Persians were Aryan. Historically, the Aryans were the people of northern India. So, and Iran or Persia has been kind of part of India, although they've had a lot of wars over the course of history going way, way back. Probably to before biblical times, in fact. Thousands of years. Anyway, also, Saudi Arabia has promised not to bomb Israel off of the map. I just am really puzzled about the politics surrounding Israel. When the English finally gave up their colonial rule in that area that we now call Israel, the Israeli government gave non-Jews more rights than they ever had under the British protectorate. Those British, they were brutal. For example, if an Arab attacked a British citizen or a British soldier, Well, of course, they'd kill him. They'd also kill his wife, his children, his parents, his cousins. They would wipe out a whole clan because of what one guy did. Well, it worked in a sense. It kept the British pretty safe, but it was brutal. The Israelis don't do that. It's like, oh my God, they build houses and put up fences and walls. And when the terrorists fire rockets into civilian homes, the Israelis shoot back. Oh my God. But I really feel sorry for the people that we call Palestinians. They're mostly actually of Jordanian ancestry and partly Arab. Jordanians are not quite the same as Arabs. For example, Danny Thomas was from Jordan, if I remember correctly. Wait a minute. Was he from Jordan or Lebanon? No, he was Lebanese. The actor Danny Thomas, Marlo Thomas's father, yeah, he was from Lebanon. Also, actually, ethnically different from Arabs. Although there's been a lot of intermarriage over the centuries, there's still difference, just as there's difference between Irish and Welsh and English and Scottish. Yeah, they're pretty much the same people, but there are ethnic differences. Well, enjoy your job, Sleepy. I'm just nattering now, and I won't be on too much longer. I've been on now for almost an hour on this second go round. I'm glad to see so many people listening. And I'm just I have to get ready for my nurse to come and check out my hip and my progress. um, I think I'm doing quite well, but I still can't reach. Well, I can reach my good foot by bending my leg. I cannot reach the bad foot. So I can't wash my own feet, put on my own socks. If I want to wear slacks, I have to lasso the bad foot because I can't just, bend my knee and put my foot into the slacks. It ain't gonna happen. I hurt my knee pretty badly in addition to my hip. I actually landed on my knee like this, back, and the impact traveled up and broke the neck of my femur, the big bone that goes from your knee to your hip. But it actually started at my knee. So when I start feeling pain from walking, it's usually my knee, not my hip. And it doesn't bend too well. And I'm not supposed to get my leg too close to my torso. I'm supposed to not put my leg up toward my belly. When you bend your knee and pull it up, that's a no-no. So I'm really happy that you all came in, but I'm going to have to sign off and get ready to see my nurse. And today, a nice lady is coming to help me bathe so my feet will get washed finally. And I haven't decided whether to ask her for help to wash my hair. You see, I can't stand at the sink to wash my hair because I need to use my hands to support me while I'm standing. And I'm not even trying the shower because it's upstairs. And I'm not doing stairs just yet. Besides, I'm still kind of afraid of falling. I would really need a shower chair. So anyway, I really enjoy talking with all of you, and I love the questions. Try to come in more often, but Tuesday mornings is kind of where I really am committed to at least coming on for a few minutes. I'm trying to type while talking. There, here we go. And I will catch you all later. And just keep the prayers coming for my hip to heal. And I'll talk again. Bye.